New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome to Finding the Joy in the Journey. I am Rev Gina and I am here today to talk about just that, finding joy from wherever you are, knowing that it is where you are at all times. We know that joy is an attribute of divine. So it is within us all of the time. So it's about us learning how to come to that place within ourselves to recognize it, realize it, to live it in a greater way, in greater expression. So every week we come together with a different topic and we have a different guest, and we really come to this place of understanding of what is joy in my journey? How do I get there? You know, unfortunately, too many people go through life in that place of, well, when I have the job, when I have the right mate, when I pay off all these bills, when I can get to go on vacation, when I've lost that weight, whatever that when I get there is for you, you know, I call that destination happiness. You know, there's a beautiful view every step up the mountaintop. So it's learning to appreciate the view, because life will never look exactly as it does right now. So don't miss out on the blessings of today for the weight of tomorrow, because we only have today. So that's what this show is all about. And we have a fabulous guest today that I'm very excited to introduce, Reverend Kathy Mastroianni. She has been a gift in so many ways. She is she does more than just, you know, the Science of Mind archive. She is the executive director, but she really has been, I know for me as a ministerial student, she has been there in several different occasions to kind of guide us through in that way, and is so generous with her time and just so kind. She exudes our philosophy, and her passion for Dr. Ernest Holmes is beautiful. You know, Science of Mind, the book itself, founded on Ernest Holmes. And, you know, too often it can get away from that. We can get caught up in the everyday stuckness of whether it be a center or whether it be, you know, anything specific about what's going on in the world and how we react. But the purity of Dr. Holmes's teachings and the philosophy is beautiful. And I have never known anyone that could actually bring that to life in the same way. So I wanted to just tell you a little bit about Reverend Kathy. Her core mission is to reveal peace individually and collectively on the planet using the powerful and peaceful tools of science of mind. She's an ordained minister through Centers for Spiritual Living, and for over 8 years has been the executive director of the Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, preserving, protecting, and sharing the timeless wisdom of science of mind to the world. And I'll show that, I'm going to show you that email, that the website in a little bit. She's a member of C.S. Hill's Heart of Peace Initiative, co hosts Rise Up for Peace, a Facebook page, and leads a weekly empowerment group for a local domestic violence shelter. Reverend Kathy lives in the mountains of Bailey, Colorado, and she enjoys croissant, baking, chocolate, and exploring our beautiful world with her honey JT, bringing peace wherever they go. And I don't doubt that for a moment. So please help me join in welcoming Reverend Kathy Mastroianni. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Reverend Gina. Oh my God, what a lovely introduction. My heart is touched.
Well, you are someone that I definitely remember when we took a class, one of the classes in Holmes Institute, that you showed us around, and your love and your passion for Ernest Holmes, the teachings, and all the history that goes along with Centers for Spiritual Living. It really brings it to life, because to me some of that can be dry at times. When you're just reading something, it's different. And you took the time to give us the tour and show us his, where he sat, and literally a shirt he wore that is on the wall, and taking the time to really be in that place. So welcome to Finding the Joy in the Journey.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. It's definitely a joy. And so this is perfect.
And what we decided is we are going to have in something very different, we are going to have Dr. Ernest Holmes. He's going to pray us in today. So this is actually, if you can give us this, let us know what this is.
This is from Ernest Holmes' radio talks that he did in the 40s and 50s. If you listen to, they're about 28 minutes usually, but then there's right towards the end, he does a meditation and a prayer to wrap it up. And so that's what this is from, your personality profile.
And these are available on the website as well, correct?
Yes, this on the
Okay.
sciencemindarchives.com. We're,
Okay.
we're, we're uploading more audio all the time. So yes.
Beautiful.
And let us believe that God is right where we are, as together we repeat these words. I am in the Father, and the Father is in me. There is one life. That life is God. That life is my life now. I welcome the influx of this divine spirit in my own life. Joyfully I recognize the guidance of divine intelligence and the all-sustaining power of the infinite as it flows through my thought out into action in my life and the lives of those around me. Knowing that there is a power greater than I am, and realizing that this power is ready and willing to help me in everything I do, I put my whole trust in its love and in its wisdom. And I know that I am guided. I am guided into right thought and into right action. Not only do I make this claim for myself alone, equally I make it for everyone else. And it is my desire that I shall meet the Father of all in each, and that I shall recognize the divine presence in everyone I meet. And as I meet others, my life flows into theirs, and their lives flow into mine. Thus, a complete unity is established, a unity of peace, of joy, and of understanding.
And so it is. How
And
wonderful
so it
is
is.
that?
And even with, so God guided me to that one. And if you notice, the last sentence was a unity of peace and joy and understanding. So I'm peace, you're joy. I think,
It
and
all
Ernest,
worked. It worked perfectly.
I know it was
There's only one
perfect.
line. And this is the archives. You can actually, people can go there and actually listen to these things and so much more. And
Yeah.
we're going to get into a little bit more about that. But I wanted to find out a little more about you first. I want you, I have people come on because the whole thing is in life, I believe, is finding your passion. We're all here for a purpose. And when we do that, we come alive in a different way. There's a light from the inside that comes alive in us because we are doing what we're here to do, and that that part of us, that soul, is living that purpose. It's alive in a different way. So I know when you speak about the archives, you definitely come to life. How did you find, of course, Science of Mind to start with, and then how did you end up into the archives?
What great question. And I love how you framed it, that when you find your purpose and your light, that you just kind of light up and that joy, that effervescent joy just kind of bubbles up. And so I just appreciate that and you. And what good questions. I am going to start at the beginning of my life. I just had such an interesting childhood that kind of led me on this journey. And it wasn't the most pleasant thing. So I apologize in advance for those. But so my mother was in a domestic violence situation and she committed suicide when I was 6 years old. And then I was raised by my father. My sister and I were until I was 14 and my sister was 19 and he died of a heart attack. And so my sister of 19 was raising me. And so it's just like these things where you're just like, why do things happen? And just something in my heart was just really, I wanted to help others. I'm like, as a kid, if I just had that love and support, it would just be so wonderful. And so I went on this journey. I fell in love with psychology and I got a psych major at the University of Michigan. And so just love psychology, but always that service heart of service to give. Moved out to Colorado. So I was from Michigan in Colorado in 92. And I worked at a family resource center. And then I ended up running a domestic violence shelter. So again, I love how spirit works. And I met these women who on my board of directors went to Mile High Church, and I just kept hearing about Mile High Church. And one week, I 3 different people said, Mile High," and I'm like, y'all are good, but I'm going to the source." And it ended up being on my mother's birthday. It was August 13th, 2006, that I found Mile High.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah. So
Before you go further into I just want to say, like, I truly believe that everything we walk through, it is so that we can help others walk through. There are people that live through trauma, and it can go either way. Either you're going to be on the helpful side of things, or you're going to
true.
be on the less empowered side of things. And
Yeah.
you chose to use that. I mean, as much pain as I can only imagine you went through, you chose to use that in a positive way. And when we're able to do that, I believe that those broken pieces, like, is it Rumi that said that that's where the light comes in?
Nice. Yeah.
That's the broken places that the light comes through. And, just like in the slide that's behind us, which I just happened to choose, the light comes through where there's a space in between.
Nice.
So sometimes that's where we're opened. We're not broken, we're opened. It's where our heart opens up in a different way, and you use that in that way. And I too had 3 different people tell
Wow.
me about Concordia, and that's on the 3rd one. I said, "What time on Sunday?"
Nice. Right. Right.
So
You
you
know,
went, and what happened?
I just fell in love. I'm just like, where has this been my whole life? Because I was never really brought up, well, because I didn't, I mean, my mom brought me, I went to Episcopal church for a minute, and then she passed. Then we went to our farm, and nature and Native American philosophy really touched my heart. And then I found Judaism, and Buddhism, and then Hindu and chanting and yoga. And I just loved it all. And I was like, oh my God, it's all here. Dr. Barry Ebert would say, talking about Paramahansa Yogananda, and I'm like, he's my guru. I mean, it was just like, oh my God. And Thich Nhat Hanh and Pema Chodron and, And then I was like, who is this Ernest Holmes guy? It's just like, and Ernest is like, how does that go? But I was good. And again, the teaching, so I was still running the shelter at the time. And to me, it was really, it's crisis and trauma and, it's on the spot, but I would see people's light and just see their light and do my best to show them their light and say, and just, it was the funnest job on the planet, okay, to run a domestic violence shelter. We'd have chocolate, we would have little meditation. I take them to the hot springs once a year because I decided that homeless people needed a vacation. And so I had no book. God just would guide me of what to do. And then one day sitting in the audience, they're looking up, I go, oh my God, this is how you change lives. This teaching, instead of people in the trauma, this is how we can prevent trauma. This is how we can create peace. This is how we can teach people self-love. And I just saw this as just so, oh my God, I want what they're having, kind of thing. and, and, uh, and then I called the ministerial and I said, I want to be a minister. They said, you have to be a practitioner first. I go, what's a practitioner? I mean, it was that early on. And then it took a few go rounds until I finally just said, okie dokies, I'm good to go. I need to become, I need this and I want to share it with the world, you know.
I had gone to Concordia CSL in Rhode Island. And I don't think I had been there maybe a month and a half, and I started foundations.
Yeah,
And
me too.
I would
Yeah,
say
me
by
too.
week 2, I was hooked. That was
Yeah,
the end of it. I was absolutely hooked. So yes, I too
absolutely.
had that place of knowing I was home right away. That I walked in and I saw love.
Wow.
That's how I looked at it. I really
Wow.
felt and I saw love. I loved that it was out in the open and so clear in the eyes and in the actions of the people that I saw, that I could see. I mean, at this point it was 15 years ago, and and it didn't matter who you were. Couples were couples and they were holding hands, and love was love, and it was, of course, it's love is love. But
Of course.
and unfortunately, it wasn't necessarily like that. And now it's becoming more like that in the world, but we already have that. And it's supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be that all religions, whatever you practice, is all welcome here. There's teachers in every faith.
Yeah.
Wherever it is that whatever you appreciate, whatever helps you to be in that oneness, what a gift. Because that when we really are in that place of oneness and knowing that we are that, that's where all the other stuff falls away. And
Yes.
that's where joy lives.
Yes. Nice.
So how did you end up
Mm.
from there
Mm.
into the archives?
Well, I was a practitioner. Yeah. I'm trying to think where I was a practitioner at Mile High. And actually, I did get a cosmic 2x4 at the shelter, so like life kind of, all righty. I was actually teaching a teaching assistant for a class, and Reverend Cynthia James was the instructor. And before class, we hold hands and we pray. And she said, what do you want to pray for? I said, I want to deepen into spirit. And she prayed, and within 24 hours, I was given the choice of resigning or being let go. And so there you go. And so I went this interesting dark night of the soul, and I just deepening into being a practitioner. And then, sure enough, I was with my sister in Atlanta, Georgia, at a convention, and I got this. I said, I want to be a minister, and I said that out loud. 24 hours later, I got a phone call, and they invited me to interview at the Science of Mind Archives. And I said, God, I thought I said minister. I mean, does anyone else argue with God? I did,
Yes.
and so sure enough, so I went to the interview, and I was like, oh my gosh, I run a domestic violence shelter, and you want me to run an archive? I'm like, that's okay. I just kept taking a step of faith forward until I was here. I'm just like, here I entered ministerial school and I'm in the mecca of our movement. I'm in the wisdom of the ages. I was just a kid in a spiritual candy store going, oh my God, here I am in ministerial school and I have to come to me for the research. And there's just not even words, God just blessed me. I just thought it would be old and dusty and like, I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie by now. And I'm like, really? Oh no, we have a good time here. It's so much fun and we're bringing it to life and we're making it useful. I heard a phrase I really like. It's called having your ear. So it's engaging, actionable, and relevant. And so that's what we're doing here at the archive. And that's why God plopped me here in the archive because I'm good at shouting from the rooftops because this is so cool. If anyone their lives have been touched by it, they need to know about the archives, and go to source, go to Ernest Holmes, listen to him, read him. To me, it's like a quickening, like Emma Curtis Hopkins probably quickened Ernest, back in 1925, when they met 24, 25. There was a quickening that when your soul is touched, that there is an awakening and it's being more enlightened. And so when we go to source, when we go to Ernest, I feel that happens to us at a deeper level. And we can really embrace these loving teachings that are over 100 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I'm going to actually bring this in just so people can know what's actually there.
Nice.
It is amazing, what's actually on the website. And, it has, of course, the homepage that you have, and it has all the different.
If you even scroll down just a little bit, there's some stuff. Look at that. So there's like the birthday party is on the left. We had an awesome party for Ernest in January, and it has music and guest speakers, and you learn about the archive. So it's a fun way to honor Ernest and to celebrate his birthday as we preserve his history. We have a new lunch and learn that's up on the right there. So Reverend Martha Quintana, Reverend Dr. Martha Quintana, she's on our board of directors, and she's like, oh my God, I have this idea. We're digitizing this audio Ernest. So people listen to a little bit of Ernest and we go into breakout groups and then we talk about it. And again, just the expression on people's faces from what they hear is just priceless. And it's open, it's free and open to the world. Both of these are free events for everyone.
And there's a lot of information there, and you can subscribe to the newsletter, of course, and there's different things, audio recordings, Creative Thought Magazine, Science of Mind Magazine, back from how many years? It's amazing, because one of our,
yeah.
How many?
1927, so almost 100 years.
Amazing. And one of our assignments was, and people can purchase the week that they were born. One of our assignments was to go in there and actually get the daily reading from the day we were born, if we were able to do that, depending upon what year you were born in, from the people in our classes. But it really has been an amazing tool, about the archives and the information. I just want to say the information that is there is incredible. It really is it's a wonderful gift to be able to, even just the story of Ernest Holmes' life that's on there is wonderful, and very interesting. And I'm not someone, I have to be honest, I'm not the most history buff type person, but I found it all very interesting and fascinating. And it's good to know, what is it we believe in, where did it come from, and and it gives the opportunity. You can just get lost on it. Also, people can become members, and it is its own 501c3, the 3C rather, so it can actually be it's tax deductible if somebody believed in that enough to give, or whatever donations are given are tax deductible as well. So just to put that out there. What have you found most fun about going through it? What brings you to life when you walk in and you see this? What still makes you just in awe?
that we have these reel-to-reel tapes that are just going to disintegrate, that they're just going to flake off into nothing. Yet we have an amazing guy. His name is Park Peters, and he's blind. He was born blind, but his hearing is phenomenal. So he has audio park recording, and so he has been coming in because he's been in the teaching since 1970s, and he'll digitize them. And like for the like we'll hear something that hasn't been. I mean, Ernest passed in 1960, so like I can't even do the math anymore. 63
60.
years ago,
Yeah.
you betcha. And it's just you hear something no one else has heard for so long. You're just like, you're just in awe. And we have Reverend Mark Gilbert on our board. He's in here right now researching because he's doing a book on Asilomar. And so I'm just surrounded by these people that are so excited about this. And I didn't like history either growing up. I really didn't. So it's just fascinating that it's cool when you learn who the human is, who the person is, how the movement evolved. But to hear things that no one else has heard, you're just in awe. It's just kind of an awe, and they're being put on the website like weekly. Now we're uploading and we're getting transcription. We met this woman, Nan Agresti, for over 20 years in the background. She's been just transcribing Ernest Holmes' work, his entire work, for 20 years. And we met each other, and she's been trying to give it to people. We found each other. I'm like, Nan, Kathy, and it's just like, so now we have a team. So we have a really cool team of people digitizing, her transcribing, and Mark Gilbert getting it organized and uploading it. And so we're rocking and rolling, and it's really fun. It's just fun.
How has your life personally changed since you found these teachings? How have you changed? Like, what about you, has changed?
Night and day. I mean, just really, I was depressed. I really was suicidal, kind of like my mom. And just, oh my gosh, I was in an unhealthy relationship. I had a little girl who I loved dearly. And I was just like, oh my gosh. But I knew there was something more, and this teaching really taught me literally to change my thinking and change my life. And I've never been happier in my life. It's the coolest thing to be alive and my life is
You said
joy.
you'd love to travel now. Where
Yeah.
have you been lately?
Oh my God, last year. So I have a new honey relatively, thanks to this teaching. It was a long journey. 15 years I was divorced and I'm just like, it's time to have a honey. And we met just over a year ago, January. And oh my God, he has answered prayer. JT has answered prayer. And so he just goes with it. So I went to the Convention of the Americas in Lake Chapala, Mexico, Guadalajara. And so that was fun to commune because we have a new Spanish translation team.
Yes.
They're for free on our website. We have 20 items at this point translated into Spanish. So that's very fun. But to meet them, oh my God, they're so kind and so enthusiastic. And then my ordination I mentioned with you earlier. So I became an ordained minister. I think it was a year ago today. It was pretty darn close. It
How
was, I think,
wonderful.
yeah, I was past my ordination panels. And then back back in 2015,
So
I was
tell us about that day. It was
yeah,
a special. It was a
yes,
special day. Share with
yes.
us.
Yes. Well, the passing the panels was definitely special, but in 2015, I just started school and I have these voices that says, you're going to be ordained at Founders. And I'm like, I'm not even a minister. I'm arguing with the voice. Don't you mean I'm gonna like be a minister or something? You'll be ordained at Founders. I'm like, okie dokies. So I remembered it. And so I passed my panels and we started a party. And we did one here in Golden, Colorado and one at Founders. And it was truly magical, to be in the pulpit where Ernest Holmes was, it's the house that Ernest built.
So
And
if you can let people know what Founders is.
yes, Founders Church of Religious Science is in Los Angeles, California. And it was really like the first like church building that Ernest Holmes helped to build with Dr. Bill Hornaday. They had the plans in 1958 or so, and it was built and opened January of 1960. And if you go to the founder's website, they have a great history tour, and Pat Gentry's a practitioner there, and Dr. Arthur Chang is the current minister. And you just feel history when you walk in. I mean, the green velvet seats, and then the auditorium that seats 1,400. I mean, it's just life changing. You kind of walk in and you can feel the history, and to be able to, and I had this really incredible crew helping with the ordination. We had incredible music. We had Ray Davis play, and we had Dr. Arthur Chang spoke, Dr. Deborah Gordon, and Reverend Julie Lobato, and it just kind of went on and on. And I had my friends from Chapala, Woody Maderas, and his sister Lily. They did a prayer for world peace in both English and Spanish. And so we just kind of brought, I mean, it was just this fantasy service. And again, it was so powerful, because when you're being an ordained minister, so you become a licensed minister like Reverend Gina, and then it's like a 3 to 4 year path to ordination. You have to do certain things, but you're committing your life. It's for life of being a minister. I mean, it's like taking wedding vows. And so it was very powerful and humbling to be there. Dr. Marilyn Leo and my daughter Isabella and my honey JT all put the ordination stole on me. And that was beautiful.
Wonderful. And, one of the things that I love about our history is that, Ernest Holmes, back when there was segregation, where there were black or white churches, he said, no, there are not. We will have service. We have centers. No, we do not. We are not separate. Yes. And he made a point of going to different churches, and made sure that it was not put in a different place of order when there was listings and things like that. And I think it's important that we know that, we are part of this oneness has been, and it's creating more and more inclusivity. We're more inclusive minded. Some of our writings back then, it was a different time. There was different language used. And I know there's some people that get very offended by the word he, or, and it's a writing. It's not something that was meant in any other way. It's humankind, not mankind, but we are we're still learning how to do, to be all inclusive in our language in different ways. But we were one of the first places that actually we were that. So. Yes. It's a wonderful, experience to go through some of the archives and to really hear about our history and how it was founded. And, that Ernest Holmes knew we were open at the top and didn't really even want a church. He didn't want to create a church. He wanted this to just be a teaching, and they were going to make one with or without him. So he said, okay, I guess if someone's going to have to lead it, it should be me. Those are the things that I think it's important to remember who we are as Centers for Spiritual Living, but also in New Thought, that we are in the leading edge, and it's important that we live that way.
No, and I love everything you just said. And Dr. Marilyn Leo, who is the founder of the archive, she wrote Chronicles of Religious Science Volumes 1 and Volume 2. And it really is, we take roots class and stuff,
but I'm going to pull me out so they can see that closer.
Oh, here you go. Oops. Hello. Chronicles of Religious Science, Volumes 1 from 1926 to 59, and Volume 2. So right when Ernest made his transition from 1960 to 2012, which is the integration of our movement, because it was together and then it split and then it came back together again. And we actually are one of the only denominations that split that came back together in oneness. And so it's something to be very proud of. But the story about like how Ernest didn't really want a church, I heard along the way. So it's in 1927 on Valentine's Day is when we were incorporated as the Institute of Religious Science and School of Philosophy. And then it was, I guess, just a few years later, I think in the 1930s, he had another fellow, uh, like a philosopher or a metaphysician who was very popular and everything. He goes, I don't want an organization. And then he passed. That guy made his transition and his philosophy just disappeared into nothingness. And then Ernest really understood the value of creating an organization so it can live on. And so we can preserve the philosophy and teaching, and it can continue to touch and change lives. And I just think that that's why, I mean, sometimes bureaucracy can be helpful. It's just, yeah.
It's everything is the attitude the eyes that we're seeing through. Oftentimes when I get frustrated, and it happens, we're all human, it all happens, fix my eyes. I get a choice of what I see.
I love that.
That's my prayer oftentimes is
Wow.
fix my eyes.
Hmm.
Because it's what I'm looking at. There's beauty everywhere. There's beauty everywhere. And, sometimes when I get caught up in the stuff that I don't like, I can go on the internet and literally, TikTok or Facebook and see stories of such kindness, such absolute kindness. And I always encourage people, if you need a pick me up, go to YouTube and type in acts of kindness.
Oh, I love that. What a great idea.
And there are videos that are hours long. You will find hundreds of videos of snippets. They're all snippets, like an hour long at a time. Wow. Of random acts of kindness. I sit there and I cry. Like I am so touched by so many things. People that couldn't walk, and for their wedding they are. People that couldn't see, and other people bought them or they were colorblind, and their coworkers went out and bought them the glasses so that they could see in full color. There were so many gifts that happen every day in the world. And the negative advertise. They tweet and they put it out there, and it is, unfortunately, it is what sells papers. It's what gets you to watch the news. And there's a lot of that's up there, but that's not all there is. Your everyday person is, we are kind at heart. Each one of us is that spark of divine. And, so it's important that we find ways to bring ourselves back to joy.
Yes.
Stuff happens, life happens. How do you, when you're in that place of a bad day or a lot of stuff going on, how do you find your way back to joy, Reverend Kathy?
Again, I love your questions. It's exactly what you're saying. I call it having tools in our toolkit for life. We need tools, and whether it's just when my mind goes somewhere I don't want it to, I call having a mantra, and I am peace. So when I am peace, it brings me to the present moment versus the past or the future, and so I can breathe and ground and then choose. Versus being reactive, I can be respond. Music. I think music is just like you said, go to YouTube and playing some positive music and just shift. It's just amazing how quickly it can just shift. Or
everyone should have playlists.
Yes,
on your phone.
You bet.
Have a playlist that's all ready for whatever mood you need.
I love that. Yep, I call mine fun and happy. So I have my fun and happy playlist, and that brings me joy. Or just having people to talk to. Sometimes we do have to be with our feelings and emotions. I mean, they're just energy, and if we can just be with them and like step back and be with them, and just like with kindness And I love Thich Nhat Hanh, he talks about anger, and he'll say, anger, my friend, there you are. There you are. And so if we can look at our feelings with kindness and love and compassion and just be with and see what is the lesson? What is it I'm supposed to learn from and just because if we can just be present and be with it and even journal or ask it questions, then it will it can dissipate because they say what resists persists. So if we're resisting it, it's going to kind of follow us, you know. Woohoo. But if we can just be with it and be curious, then we can learn it and it can help us to move on and to get back to joy.
And I encourage people, we are live. We would love to hear from you. We would love any questions that you have, any comments. We would love to hear from you. So by all means, feel free to drop them in the comment section. We would love that. I was reading a daily reader this morning and I came across the term spiritual silence.
Ooh.
And I paused and it was kind of equated to, that stillness at the bottom of the ocean, that no matter what's going on the surface, at the bottom, deep of the ocean, there is stillness. Well, within us, there is that silence. So it doesn't matter what chaos seems to be going on the outside. Within us, that soul, that spark of divine is always that spiritual silence. And all we have to do is go within to experience that. And I thought, wow, what a powerful term that was for me this morning. Spiritual silence.
Nice.
So to be present in that, yes. And our teachings give us many opportunities of little glimpses like that. I know you do a lot of work around peace. How did you get there? From where you were and how you were raised, how did you get to being a person that now is centered in and teaches of peace?
Well, I guess life happens. And I give 9/11 credit for it. And so, when the World Trade Center was, demolished. And so now when I've turn around, when I see 9/11 on the clock, to me it means peace. And it was that day afterwards, I just felt, here I'm sitting on the side of a mountain in Bailey, Colorado, and I'm like, oh my God, it felt like there was no safety wherever I was. I remember finally that night I sat down and realized I couldn't control what was out there, but I could control what was inside of me. And I started to meditate on peace and finding that peace within. And then I found yoga and meditation, but it was really that day that helped me to really, it's about peace. And, and so it was spiritual practices. I love chanting and kirtan. Oh my gosh, I found a yoga teacher who was actually my therapist back in 2000. Let's see, my daughter was born in 99. So it was around 2000, 2001 or so. And I just found yoga and I found peace. It was like in Savasana, that yoga pose, like at the end, the corpse pose. You kind of lay and you lay in meditation. The second time, my brain turned off. It stopped being its monkey mind. And I said, oh my God, I found peace. This is inner peace. This is what peace is, And so it was like all these things. And then I worked, at the shelter, Mountain Peace Shelter in 2003. And in 2006, I found the teaching. And like you were saying, so I found it in August. And in September of 2006, we had the Platte Canyon High School shooting and hostage situation. And I was taking Beyond Limits. I immediately started taking classes. The first class, the teaching was, our assignment was, look at everyone and say, deeply we are one. We're supposed to all week long look at everyone and say, deeply we are one. And so the first class, the shooting, and then the second class, we're all kind of like, because Lakewood's pretty close to Bailey in a way. It just touched us on this. One woman stood up and said, you know what? Deeply we are one. Even that shooter, even Dwayne Morrison, I'm one with him. And it was just revolutionary. I'm like, I'm one with it. I'm one with all of it. It's all of it is one. And again, the teaching just kept bringing such oneness.
And because the forgiveness is always for ourselves.
You bet.
And
Oh
oh,
yeah.
our
Oh
beloved
yeah.
Ronnie Gonzalez,
I
Ola from
know.
Mexico. She's
I
loving the
know.
conversation.
Yay. Yes, and I met her at Lake Chapala last year.
She's
That was fun.
amazing.
She is
And
amazing. I
she
love
is our doula for grief as well. She
nice.
hosts a show on Mondays called Your Doula for Grief, and it just so happens she's also
Oh, look at
tonight
you.
on.
Nice.
She's on our. She's going to be the host of our CSL Greater Boston.
Oh,
There's Sacred Circle.
oh,
At 7.
wonderful.
So good to
Nice.
see you, and
Nice
I
to
look forward
see
to
you.
this evening. This is actually open to all, so I'm going to give us a shameless plug while we're
Nice.
there.
You
And
did that well.
the topic is it's on CSL Greater Boston's page. So if you're interested in going, by all means, we would love to have you there. It's a sacred conversation where we come together once a week and
Wow.
we talk about all things spiritual. Every week is a
Nice.
different topic. And isn't it wonderful to have spiritual community to be able to do that? And
Absolutely.
on what you were sharing, and I didn't mean to cut you off because it is a very important point. When we can get to a place of seeing even a school shooter and realizing that I am that, I am, that I too am that person, that there is only one of us, and that I don't need to like what you do, but I do need to love you because we can't, when we're against anyone, we're against ourselves. I'm the only one that's feeling the resistance. It blocks me from spirit. So it is an amazing gift when we come to a place to understand that, just to be there with love and try to really wrap our heads around, I don't have to like what you do or say, but I love you.
Yep.
And
Right.
I can pray for, really truly pray for someone without that, without fear of, or there's nothing, and really be love regardless of the circumstance. And I can feel safe and protected. Even in any circumstance, I can trust that spirit is guiding, guarding, and governing. Those aren't just words. We rest into that faith. We lean in and we truly feel it. We know it.
Nice. Hmm.
It's a gift that we get from these teachings. And I want to make sure that I give out your information because the hour just flew by, because it always does. And
You
I
do that.
wanted to give them, if anyone would like more information on the archives, or if anything that we were speaking about today, I encourage people to reach out to you. Reverend Kathy is truly, so gracious, so gracious. So I would love it, if anybody wants to reach out to you. And also want to just let them know that people can reach out to me, whether it's about topics or conversation, anything at all. People can reach out to me as well. They can find me on Facebook, or I'm at Gina at cslboston.org. They can send me an email as well. And, the Science of Mind archives, go to the page, find out more information about it. It is a wonderful free resource that people can use to find out who we are, where we came from, and really have that depth of our spiritual connection in a different way. So I truly encourage that. I mean, I wanted to make sure I left you some time. What would you like people to know, whether it's about Ernest Holmes, the archives, in general? What would you like people to know?
Well, what first comes to mind is what I love about Ernest was he really is about peace. To me, this Science Mind is a peace ministry, and there was this. We'll see if a time when he spoke. It was actually September of 1941. It was actually on the International Day of Peace Day, 40 years before there was an International Day of Peace Day. And he's speaking, let there be immediate peace on earth by the power of the Spirit of the living God. And it was just it was an American spiritual awakening that he did. It was just so powerful. And So again, that's, you asked about peace, and there's just so much peace in all of his writings. You heard it in his audio recording we started with, but go to the website. And so at the very top right, there's a place, sign up for the newsletter. That way you can be in the know of all the new things. We have some really cool things we're going to be premiering. We have our YouTube channel, Find Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation. Our lunch and learns are on there, and so much more. But this, as you said, these are all free resources you can access. But if this touches your heart, if this teaching has touched your life, I encourage you to be a friend of the archives. For only $16 a month or $189 a year. It includes a website subscription. So you can download up to 20 items a month, which is actually quite a
There's
bit.
a lot of stuff on there.
Yes.
People can take a look around. There's a lot of stuff on there. So if
Yeah.
it's a wonderful way to have some things that you can't find in print anymore.
You betcha. Yes, it's again, my kind of joke is, because I do go to Facebook quite a bit. Instead of spending time on Facebook, go to the archives website and just kind of tool around, and play. There's a new thought mind map of the history. There's a lot of interactive things, and we're looking at creating like virtual archives. There's some cool things. Speaking of which, we're actually, so our facility, it's been donated to us from Centers for Spiritual Living Home Office. And the building's on the market right now. And so we have a prayer request out to the world for the divinely perfect location for our sacred archives to be revealed, and for home office. And so it's kind of an exciting time of possibilities. And we're looking into virtual museums and archives and figure out ways we can really make it even more interactive and connecting.
Wonderful. You were mentioning a few things of some of the writings of Ernest Holmes around peace, and one of my favorite, especially when I see things that are disturbing in the government or in the world, whether it's war or anything else, is Prayer for My Country.
Nice. Yes.
Because if you take take the country out of that and you put people in general, it is very it's amazing the depth that Ernest Holmes wrote at. And I do encourage people to, find the writings that speak to them and go back to those. There's some wonderful books that aren't as well known. And I encourage people to, take a look and find some of just the letters or the essays and really just, some gems. So really, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. Again, scienceofmindarchives.com. And this is your email. People can reach out to you. It's Kathy at scienceofmindarchives.org. And, we're going to have you back. We just missed by a couple of months. Ernest Holmes' birthday is in January. And you have a wonderful, there's a big to do, and it's a wonderful extravaganza. So we're going to have you on again, and we'll be talking about that and other things as well. It's wonderful to have you here. If you had one piece of advice for people to stay in that place of peace and joy, what would it be?
I think it kind of goes back to what you were saying, just really going within, and just asking. I love what's called like contemplative meditation. So you can even write at the top of a piece of paper, so what is my purpose? What is my peace? And then asking spirit, and just taking time to breathe and follow your breath. Set a little timer, 5, 20 minutes, whatever works for you. And just when you feel done, just open your eyes and just start writing. Because the answers are within. Each person here knows what is their peace and what is their purpose and what is their joy. And then go out and live it, keep asking spirit, now what do I do? Now what do I do? And then signs will come and things will come, and all of a sudden you'll go from where I was, just sad, depressed, to having the best life ever. it does seem unreal, but I'm just never been so happy, and I'm so grateful for this teaching, for Ernest Holmes, for Science of Mind, for you, Gina, and for your show. So
Well, thank you so much for being here and being part of this, and all that you do and provide. As I said, you are so inviting and so excited about it all. It really gives us an opportunity to share it in a different way. So thank you, because the work you're doing is so important, both in your avenue of peace and also in the archives. So thank you for how you show up in the world and for sharing it with us today. Thank you. You are a joy. And I thank everybody for watching. And again, if you have questions, you can reach out to us. We'd love to hear your comments. Thank you for being here with us. And thank you all for being that joy in the world. We are that smile. We are that love. You may be that only expression of our teachings that people get to ever see. So let's be that joy, that love, that peace in the world. Thank you all for being here and showing up as that divine love. So I wish you all a fabulous week. Again, thank you, Reverend Kathy, for being here with us.
thank
Namaste.
you, Reverend Gina. Namaste.
Blessings and love.
Thanks. Thank you.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network, come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time.